We're just returning to our top story now about the Iranian president and his foreign minister still missing after a helicopter crash. Joining me live is Australian Strategic Policy Institute military analyst Malcolm Davis. Malcolm, thanks for jumping on for us to talk about this. We don't know a huge amount. We know that it was a helicopter crash. They were on their way after inspecting a dam. We know that there was bad weather and heavy fog at the time. What's your take about what's happened here?
Well, firstly, as you say, we don't know much. I think it's way too early to speculate on the cause of this crash. We can clearly see that the pilot took the helicopter into mountainous terrain in bad weather and fog, which I think was a very imprudent move on his part. But in doing so, the helicopter came down, and now the situation is that rescue teams are trying to find the helicopter to determine if the occupants have survived. One of the occupants being the president of Iran, Raisi.
And that search effort is hampered by that bad weather, where there's rain turning to snow and all sorts of things, and the fog as well, the visibility issues. Malcolm, if this search does reveal that Iran's foreign minister and the president did not survive in this helicopter crash, what could this mean for the Israel-Gaza conflict in the Middle East and Iran's proxy armies?
I think the first thing there would be a scramble for power within Iran. I believe that there would be an election within 50 days. And so various different factions within Iran would be competing to grab that high office. But in terms of the broader impact, in terms of the Israel conflict in Gaza, there's no indication whatsoever that Israel was behind this. So I would imagine that Iran would not essentially respond in a way that would escalate the conflict with Israel. I think this probably will remain an internal matter, potentially leading to some sort of power vacuum and internal unrest. But I'm not seeing at this point in time any indication that there's external actors involved and that could lead to escalation at a regional level.
But we know the links with Hamas that Iran has. You don't think it could affect any future ceasefire deals? I mean, it is early days. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it is early days, and I think that it's way too early to speculate on that aspect. I mean, yes, obviously Iran sponsors Hamas, they sponsor Hezbollah, they sponsor the Houthis. But I would imagine that whoever takes over from the Iranian president probably would maintain the current policies. And so therefore, those proxy groups would continue to be sponsored by Iran. And in that sense, I don't see a huge amount of change occurring in the war with Israel.
Just while I've got you, we've got this report in The Australian, too risky to breathe life into old subs. A report handed to the government says there's a real possibility Australia won't be able to extend the life of the Navy's ageing Collins-class submarines for another decade, which would leave Australia potentially short before the AUKUS nuclear subs arrive. They won't start arriving until 2032. We could be having this Navy shortfall at a time of great geopolitical landscape tension as well. What's your view? Do you think that we can sort this out, or is there a big problem in keeping these old subs in the water?
Look, I was dubious about LOTE from the beginning. I think it would have been better to replace the Collins-class subs much earlier, probably a decade or so ago, with conventional subs, and then move on to the nuclear subs. The challenge, of course, is if LOTE fails, then we have to wait until we get the first of the Virginia class, and then that's not a capability. The rule is you need 3 submarines to keep 1 operational. So if we're talking about a credible capability, we really need 3 nuclear submarines at a minimum to have a credible capability. And that's talking late 2030s before we have that credible capability. In that sense, LOTE was critical in that regard because it would have kept the Collins class working alongside the Virginias whilst we transitioned to nuclear, and then ultimately the Collins would have been retired. But if LOTE fails, then we are left with a huge capability gap and no easy way to fill it.
Thanks for your time, Malcolm. Appreciate it.
Thank you.